God cannot be understood. God cannot be described. Anytime you say you have described God, you have not. Anytime you think you know God, you don't know. So it is because it is where the observer and the observed dissolve into one. So, like the eye sees everything, the eye cannot see itself. And so it's like that. God is this very active void, this very life-giving void where the observer and the observed, the knower and the known, they dissolved. So it's this big nothingness, and I describe it, God, in that sense, as zero multiplied by infinity is zero. So when I say zero, it's not that, it's like that nothingness within which is the infinite.
Welcome to a Broaderlands podcast. The opinions expressed on Broaderlands podcast are those of the guest speakers and do not necessarily reflect the views of the host or Broaderlands podcast. Ritu, welcome to Broaderlands podcast. What an honor to have you on.
The honor is mine too, and my greetings to all your viewers.
Yeah, thank you. And maybe before we get started, you can share a little bit about who you are and what you do, if you don't mind.
Yes, sure. My life seems to be quite different from the norms that I generally have heard about. I was born and raised in India in an environment, luckily for me, that wasn't very religious. It was what I heard in the air, as you know, Sanatan Dharma, the spirituality. And I had a lot of pre-birth memories. So fortunately, my family was very keen on always visiting the saints and maybe just to get their blessings. So I got to have blessings of many saints. But every time I went there, even though I felt peace, I never asked any questions. I was by nature, I guess my tendency from previous lifetimes, you can say, I was an extremely quiet, timid, frightened little child. So I did not dare open my mouth to ask such a big personality in front of me my tiny little inconsequential questions. So they got buried inside of me. But I was always very keen on knowing the spiritual answers about life, about who am I, what is the meaning of everything that is going on around me, because it all seemed very meaningless. It didn't make sense to me. You get up, you eat, you sleep, and you're going to school, going to work, and some little bit of entertainment, and it keeps going on. And it's like it can't be just this. There is more to this. So some of the memories that I had was I knew I could see three of my past life incarnations. One was as a nun. I felt it like with my five senses. I could feel, smell me being in a nun's body. And my dreams happened to be of myself as that nun, asking questions, and those questions being given, the answers being given to me. And I would be ecstatic in my dream that I'm getting the answer. And I just wake up and I'm ecstatic that I got the answer. And then I would realize, wait a minute, I don't know what language that was, because it was much later I found out it could have been Latin. I don't know. but it wasn't the language that I understood. So somewhere subconsciously, I would get those answers downloaded somehow or into that nun's body, but now a nun's mind, but not in Ritu's conscious brain. That was frustrating. But I saw myself in a military life, and so two of military lives like that. And I knew that in this lifetime, I am, as everybody is, all powerful. And but there is this part of me, the conditioned part of me, that would say, no, 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 you're not supposed to think like that. So, me knowing this and yet suppressing it at the same time, um, because you're supposed to be humble and you're not supposed to think like that. What do you mean? I am all powerful. But you have to use that power wisely. And that I am here, as is everyone else here, to learn wisdom, to go through life wisely. And once you use your powers, your knowledge wisely, then more you have access to more and more. And I also knew that personally for me, my lifetime will be full of pain and challenges, such incredible pain that at some point I might want to exit. And so, but I knew that you should not give up. You should not exit. You should not commit suicide. You should not do anything that risks your life that way because it doesn't end. The lessons that you have to learn, the things that you want to experience, the growth you want to have can happen in this lifetime itself. And the more you delay it, it cannot go away. Your challenges and your pain cannot just disappear by your life ending. If you don't process it and resolve it, it'll come even more difficult and harder in your next lifetime. And so that knowledge of that has always stayed with me throughout that, and especially to say, don't give up. And so those were some of the most important memories that I had. And then when I was in school, I was very much keen on joining military. So there is this very spiritual part of me that loves Sanskrit. And in those days, we had just small little transistor radio. We couldn't control what songs would play on it. And there were tiny little parts of the day when some Sanskrit shlokas or Sanskrit chants would come on it, or spiritual music like hymns and gospel music. And I would be so thirsty for it. And I would want to listen to it. And on my own, I wanted to read Sanskrit language. And there was nothing around in my environment that talked about it or encouraged it or showed any interest in it. So I was an extreme loner in that way. And I also had a memory of being persecuted and of being ostracized. So I would read poetry where I am talking about being ostracized. So part of it was love poetry. And I didn't know where this love poetry is coming from. And because if somebody read it, and they asked, because you think it's directed towards somebody. And I didn't know where it's coming from, but it's love for someone or something, or I had no framework to put it into. But then there was like they're just a flip of the coin, heads and tails. The other side of it was terror and fear and about being ostracized, about being judged and being persecuted. So my life journey has been just like that, the extreme of this paradox, the extreme of the spiritual experiences, the bliss, the ecstasy, the knowing and the knowledge, and then this terror and fear, and so how to use your knowledge to your discernment wisely to go through and process all of that. So the military, I almost enrolled myself in military. I was a cadet, and the moment I was going to sign myself up, I had 2, 3 days to think about it. And then I was going to my school to sign up for it when I had reached high school. And I then decided that there was part of me that did not want to pick up a gun. I could not shoot. That was, although I was a perfect shooter and I had 20/20 vision. And I did not want to be part of any part of that. And when I made that firm decision, I'm going to say no to the officers who were going to be there. I had to cross this huge field as I was. um, the memory is so vivid, it chokes me up sometimes as to the decisions we make that totally change the trajectory of your life. So I was passing through this big field and it was just sunny day and I was on my bicycle and right in the middle of the field, when I had made this, was rehearsing. I was also terrified how I'm going to be yelled at from pulling out of it because I was signed up to go into regional competitions and how I would let the whole school and the region down and the persecution and the judgment that will happen because of it. And who knows what, you expect the worst. So I was rehearsing that. And then I hear this like a blinding flashlight, like thousand suns flashed in front of my eyes. It's almost like I went blind. And then I don't know how much of a time passed. And then when I opened my eyes, I had a splitting headache, which I never had before. It was like a migraine and and I everything was a little blurry. I couldn't see. So cut story short, next day I found out because I kept complaining the headache wouldn't go away. Then it was found out that suddenly my eyesight was weaker. And that's when I got glasses. So I attribute to that day somehow my trajectory. That's the parallel life that we were alluding to earlier. Like I changed that trajectory and that 20/20 vision, I guess I needed for the other life if I had chosen. I didn't need that. And so my eyesight was suddenly, in a flash, it was weaker.
Yeah, thank you. And since you brought that up, can you share a little bit about the parallel lives and different timelines, if you don't mind? Your
No
experience and
problems.
understanding?
I've had many experiences where I have experienced, maybe you can say out of body, where there is a part of me or etheric body, or I don't know what technical name it ought to be, but there is a part of me that is outside of my body. And then I can see other lives at different geographies and as a male and have different life, but I am experiencing this etheric body is experiencing everything simultaneously. So it knows all of them and it's experiencing what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling. It knows all of it and it's experiencing all of it. And so myself in that etheric body self is also experiencing 360 degrees, like all the lives at the same time. And so my little conclusion is that maybe that's where we are pulling in information from all our other simultaneous lives. But I had two actual real life experiences where I saw that how these realities intersect. So I'll tell it in a very short form. One was where one time, this is way before we had internet and cell phones, It was a blizzard day, snow blizzard. I was living up north in outskirts of New York, and I went to my office not knowing that you should not be driving outside on blizzard. I did not have a way to get that information. I had newly moved there, so I didn't have that much experience of snow, but I drove my car, my usual 15-minute drive, and it was a very hilly area because it's, how outside of, on the border of New Jersey and New York, so it was like very hilly up and down type of road, a huge long boulevard from my apartment where I was. I drove my usual 15-minute drive took me over an hour, and I was petrified and saying, what the heck am I doing? Because that wasn't a regular highway or a heavy duty road where nobody cleaned up. Nobody was going to clean up, and nobody cleaned up the roads. So must have been about a foot or 1.5 feet of snow, and I'm trying to drive my car. And somehow when I reached to a certain point where I needed to go really deep downhill to get to my office, I had to stop my car. It's like, that's too dangerous. I cannot drive down. So I said, okay, I'm here. I'm going to walk down to my office. And I did not realize, I was not prepared for all the cold and how it was going to affect my lungs. So I don't know, I had an asthma attack or what. I just stopped breathing. So I went down to my office trying to see if I can find somebody. Nothing, nobody. It's just white snow all the way, wherever you can see, not a soul. Said, okay, I have to go back to my car and somehow drive back. And as I was coming up a hill, I was losing more and more of my breath. I somehow managed to get to my car and just lean against it. And that's it. I looked down helplessly all the way down. Can I see something coming? Nothing. It was just fresh, beautiful snow all the way miles down. Nobody was going to come. And I must have passed out because I don't remember anything. And my car was stuck in the snow at that time because I needed to turn downhill. And when I turned it, my car tires got stuck. So there was no way they were going to move. And the next memory I have is just about 10 minutes later. From that moment, I had passed out because I was looking at my watch to see, well, it is about office time. There should be at least an 18-wheeler or truck or something coming by. About 10 minutes later, I find myself turning towards my apartment. And I'm sitting behind the wheel. I am 100% okay. And there is no wetness. There is no snow on my clothes, as if I had not stepped out of the car. So that is one where I later on, my conclusion is that was an intersection of some parallel reality that came in. How is it possible when it took me 1 hour to not even get full way to the office, for me to be 10 minutes later in my car where it looks like I haven't even stepped out. And my breathing was perfectly fine, as if nothing had happened. And the second is the big one. This is again before the internet and the cell phone days, when I had my major STE, which I will talk about later on, and I had quit my very, very successful software engineering career. I had just decided that I will go into energy healing because I suddenly found myself having those capabilities and my intense desire to be doing that. So suddenly the financial situation of my house changed drastically. And as many people experience when they take drastic decisions like that, my husband lost his job too. So he was laid off, and now there are two people with no income and two tiny little children. So I decided, so 3 months went by, we're like down to zero in our savings. And he is going through all the job applications. In those days, you had to go to the agencies. I don't know if you remember that, or people from my era can understand what I'm saying. You had to drive down there, fill out by hand all the applications. You would have interview. So in one day, you could possibly do one or two. And he had exhausted every single possibility, every ad in the newspaper, and no job was happening. So I was at that point where, did I make a wrong decision? Is this, what I am feeling so strongly what my life path should be? Maybe this is a sign that I'm just supposed to go back to my original career, and I guess it's not meant to happen. But I said I still have faith. I had some signs that happened. It would make a longer story, so I won't go into that. But certain signs happened that gave me the faith that I said it was Friday. I said I will wait until Monday. And if nothing happens, no word, no phone call from any employer, I will rejoin. And my office had an open invitation to me. Anytime you want to come back, you just let us know. So I said, I'm going to just surrender it completely to my guru, Swami Mohandas Ji Maharaj. I'm going to completely surrender this decision to him, and I'm going to let it go. I'm completely going to drop it off my mind. And I started playing my Hindi music. So it was playing, I had a transistor radio, and it was a very, very weak channel, on a frequency where even if you move it a fraction of a millimeter, you lose the signal.
Yes.
So I had that radio on my kitchen counter. Nobody was allowed to touch it, and it was on that dial. So I used to listen to it. I am listening to a song, beautiful song. I'm enjoying it. And I have completely released any angst, any worry. And suddenly this voice booms out of there, a male voice that starts talking about, so we are talking about this man in Florida who suddenly had the spiritual awakening, and they were telling his story. I'm like, what? Where did this come from? I wanted to listen. I got so engrossed in listening to that story. And then they said, we're gonna come back after commercial break, and we are the Kick Butt Radio, and uh, we will play some commercials. We'll be right back after commercials. And the commercial was for a company who was saying, send us fax your resume, and we will fax it to 500 different companies, and we guarantee you will hear from someone about your job. I totally ignored it. I was so fascinated by the story, I just couldn't get back. It's like, wow, this is Kick Butt Radio? I've never heard of it before. So the story starts again. And he's talking about how this man had so much money, he left everything, and he's now on the streets. And then they take another commercial break, and then that ad comes on again. And it caught my attention. I said, what? This is an ad about faxing your resume. This company will fax your resume to 500 companies. So it just struck me, but I still let it go. Well, they started again, the Kick Butt Radio, and they started the Florida man story. And then the third time the commercial came on. So wait a minute. I just quickly took whatever piece of paper was there and pen, and I jot down their number. And I said, this is a sign. This has to be a sign. Why does this ad keep playing over and over again? In commercial breaks, that doesn't happen. And so I said, I'm going to tell my husband when he comes home. but he may not agree to it because he may say, you and your mumbo jumbo stuff. I mean, he's already so angry at me, right, for taking this huge. I did not have any support for this big life trajectory. I had changed. So we were still in that phase, and he's frustrated about his own job. So I was very scared. But I had this no, I have to tell him no matter what. I will see if he agrees to it, to send money to this place. So he sent money to this place. Within 2 days, he got a call. And this lady said, from an agency, she said that she was transferring to another place, and she had packed all her stuff and she had matched up all the resumes that she had. So she was feeling free of having done his responsibilities. But then this fax came in, and that wasn't her area of expertise. It's like, why is this fax coming to me? And she just felt so bad. It's like, oh, I don't want this hanging loose. And I want to match up this person, but why is this even coming to me? I don't have any employers and to match this person up, but this is an awesome resume. And so as she was thinking, then suddenly this employer sent a job request to her fax that this is what we are looking for, and it was a perfect match. And so she immediately calls, says, this is a bizarre story, but here it is. And I'm going to set you up with an interview right away. He interviewed, and the next day he got the job offer. But then then she got another company asking for the same kind of resume that he had. And then she set up that interview and he got that job offer. Now, suddenly, within 2 days, he had two job offers. So he was able to negotiate for almost double the salary with the first company. So in a way, like God, my guru, compensated for the salary that he needed and most of the salary that was lost for the I had. And for after that, I searched for months and years for that kick butt radio. I never found it. I've searched online, I've asked my friends, and nobody has ever heard of a kick butt radio. And yet that is the place where he ended up working for over 20 years. So that's the parallel reality.
Wow, it's a profound story. You said early on you said you weren't raised religious with your family, but did you eventually become a Hindu?
So we belong to Hindu family, but which later on I learned that it is incorrectly called Hinduism as a religion, but it is really Sanatan Dharma, which means the eternal truth, your duty to know your true nature, which is the eternal truth, which is that you are the divine yourself. So that there are many schools of thought, philosophy within Sanatan Dharma. And so there is a part of that, the dualistic part of that, the Dvaita Vedanta, that also professes doing idol worship, which we call idol also incorrectly. That is a manifested form of the unmanifest. So in the form of pictures or anywhere in nature, anything that is manifest. So you can go to the unmanifest, the formless source through the manifested forms or directly through the unmanifest, which is Advaita Vedanta. And so if you are saying I wasn't following when I say the religion, the most commonly practiced, part of it is the worship of the manifested forms, like the idols of many gods and goddesses. So that part wasn't professed or discussed or followed that much in my family. So I did not have to unlearn that part of it. So I take it as a big blessing. I searched more for the formless source. And so that's where it led me to my current guru, Swami Mohandas Ji Maharaj. I can't say it led me to him. He came into my life. So that was something else that is extremely unusual compared to all the other seekers, spiritual seekers I have heard about, that normally they go searching for a master, and then the master, they ask for initiation. My guru came into my life and he gave me the initiation without me knowing anything about it or asking about it. So I attribute it to my past lives, and so which enabled it in this lifetime for my guru to come to me and give me the initiation. So does that answer about the religious part of your
Oh yeah.
question?
Yeah, I really
Okay.
appreciate it. I hear,
Hmm.
through growing up in, California, when I started to dabble into after my awakening to going to church and just trying to look at what spiritual route I should be following, and I'm just trying to question stuff because I wasn't raised with religion, so I started to
Hmm.
question stuff. So I started looking into Christianity, and I told you about, I always felt like I lived in India, and a lot of the teachings came to me automatically. But during
Hmm.
the process, I remember going to a church and I would hear a pastor make fun of Hinduism in a way. And what that creates is discrimination and a separation. But he had a misunderstanding of calling Hinduism idol worship, but Yogananda taught me it was different ideals of one God, one source. And I love that. And I think even being taught in schools, religious teachers in America, at least the ones that, people I've talked to and one that I've experienced, they have a misunderstanding of Hinduism. They call it, they make fun of worship many gods, but they're really different ideals of one prime source, right?
I do. Yeah, you can say it. One of the simple ways to explain that is, let's say you're in love, you have a beloved,
Mm-hmm.
and you are just madly, madly, madly in love with her, and or whoever that is. That could be your child. I mean, just somebody you love from all your heart and soul, and they live far away. Let's say it's your beloved, your girlfriend, and she lives far away, and then she writes you letters. She writes you a letter every single day in the mail. She sends it to you, and how excited you are to open up that letter and read that letter. And when you are reading it, she's used ink on paper to write the words. When you're reading that, you're kissing the letter and you're just shedding tears, because I miss you, because she's saying I miss you. And your heart is just overjoyed between the pain of the separation, and the you just want to worship. And what if somebody comes and snatches that letter from you? It's like, what nonsense. What, it's just ink and paper. Said, no, this is not just ink and paper, these words. This is my girlfriend, my beloved. She's in it. She's in these words. These words are written by her. And so you are not connecting to the paper or the ink or the words. It's the meaning behind the words. It's what the joy that it's bringing you and the memory of her. And would you then just trash that love letter in the bin? I mean, you'd probably make an altar and, or a beautiful, beautiful space to store those letters and pull them out over and over again and read them again and again. So just like that, these idols are love letters, are that sources love letters. They are just different forms so you can connect with it, because in our physical form it is easier for a physical form to hold our attention, and it's just easier to talk to it. And so at some point, that's what our ancient sages and rishis, they manifested these forms, but they are just divine's love letters. So you can connect to your inner truth, your that divine within you, connect to the joy and the ecstasy and the love within you through these idols. It is quite mistaken. And another perspective to look at it from is, let's say you have somebody loves a cedar wood table, and they spend thousands of dollars to get a beautiful cedar wood table made. They are loving the table, and but where did it come from? It came from the tree. And so, in a way, indirectly, you are worshiping the tree. You're loving the tree. And where did the tree came from? It came from Mother Nature, the five elements of the nature. And so, indirectly, you're loving that. Where did five elements come from? It's from that infinite formless source. So indirectly, you're loving that. So Sanatan Dharma, it says that everything leads you to that ultimate one, but everything becomes a source, a way, a method to connect to so you can hug a tree and connect with the source. You can worship a stone and connect to the source. So if you can take that stone and create a form out of it and worship that, so you are worshiping the ultimate formless love energy, the source. So that's another perspective to look at. So I think it's a bit of a misguided interpretation. Yes, because those who say something against idol worship, they have pictures of their family photo in their wallets and in their purses and on their walls. So when you are, then why are you loving and kissing the picture of your newborn child or your grandchild? Why are you doing that? That's not your grandchild. That's just a picture. But that picture is a reminder of your beautiful grandchild who lives far away from you. And you shed tears and you talk to that grandchild. So it's the same way. It's just a little misunderstood.
Yeah, thank you for clarifying that. Even in the West, you'll see people with the cross. That's worship. It's idol worship, right?
Worship.
Um, at the
And
same
there
time,
is, mhm,
no, at the same time,
sorry, every single,
oh, go ahead.
right, within your family, even if it's not a so-called religious symbol, just the very fact that you have some loved one in your life and you carry their picture or love their picture, that is the same thing. Hmm.
Paraphrasing the Gita, in the Bhagavad Gita, it talks about I am behind all worship. And I love that because it doesn't matter, right?
Right.
Um, you're really going, the source is beyond and is deeper. And that's maybe an outlet to the source, right?
Everything. This is this whole, which is what my STE, one of my major STEs was about, where every everything that's manifested, everything that has a form is just the love drops of the unmanifest. So you can literally take anything, anything in nature, anything from nature that you can then create a painting out of it, or a picture, or a statue. It's all that one formless energy, the source, the supreme source.
You know, when I started studying the avatars of India, I realized, like, man, they understand Jesus more than pastors. That was just my, I'm coming from talking about
Mm.
being raised in my environment and my understanding, and it gave me a broader understanding. Like, I am my Father are one. When Jesus says, um, um, Krishna says similar stuff using the I am. What is self realization and what is an avatar?
Self-realization is the same as the essence of Sanatan Dharma that we just talked. You realize yourself. So my guru, once again, Swami Mohandas Ji Maharaj, I remember hearing him in my beginning one. He hardly did any discourses, but some of the words that he said, if you want to know God, search for who am I. Search for yourself. And once you go in, you can go either way. You can go searching for God, you'll find yourself, your truth. And you search for yourself, who am I? You will know God. So you and the divine, you are one, the ultimate source, you are one. And so that is enlightenment. That is the light. That is the eternal light that you get to be in. So now, but there are stages. There can be a small experience of that, like an enlightenment experience. And then the true enlightenment is when your ego self, when your identity dissolves, your identity as body and mind completely dissolves. Just like if you throw a tiny little spoon of salt in ocean, how it'll completely dissolve. So just like that, you completely dissolve. Your identity dissolves into the cosmic consciousness. And then you have a very slight consciousness of your physical reality. So you can walk in body to be a monk in the physical reality. But let's say 99.99%, your identity is dissolved into the cosmic consciousness. That is the true enlightened master.
I love that. And it's kind of like that St. Francis prayer at the very end of the prayer. It says, it is only by dying that one awakens to eternal life.
Exactly, and that's the death the masters talk about. It's not the physical death where you shed your body, but you shed your identity as mind and body, and you awaken into this other identity as the cosmic self. That is the dying. So beautiful, isn't it? All the masters say the same things in different words.
Yeah, it's a universal truth. And I was sharing with two pastors one time when they were preaching to me. And I said, the problem with what you're saying is you're listening to the scriptures with the ego eye, but you have to tap into the eye within the eye, and it'll expand and it'll be more unifying, more connected to the all oneness of life instead of creating division and worrying about label consciousness. Because label consciousness is really ego consciousness, and it creates Maya. And I would love for you to touch on what Maya means.
Yes, yeah. So, yeah, to another word to say that I say is like instead of your limited body and mind consciousness, the expanded cosmic consciousness. And we can be both. We can decide to be on this side or that side. And that's somebody An ordinary person who's not awakened, will be talking. They can use the same words. A enlightened master and a non-awakened person can use the same terminology and same words, but one is talking from the expanded cosmic consciousness, and one is talking from what you said, like the ego-based consciousness. So that has a totally different impact. So Maya is illusion. Maya is the Sanskrit word to say that this is all like a open-eyed dream that we are living. So we have nighttime, closed-eye dream, but when you're dreaming, you don't know you are dreaming. In that dream, if you're in a jungle and you have bears and tigers running after you, you're screaming and you are saying, you're screaming, give me a gun, I have to shoot them, they're coming towards me, I need to shoot them. So should your friend who is watching you in that room, should that friend hand you a gun and say, here, what, and you shooting? Are you going to shoot the tiger or the bear? Or you might end up shooting yourself and killing the friend who gave you the gun. Bam, bam, bam. So those are two separate realities. So, but you don't know you're in that dream. And then the best thing your friend can do is, hey, wake up, wake up. You're just dreaming. And then you wake up. Yeah, you're shaken up for a little while. Thank God that was just a dream. And, maybe in that dream, months have passed by, but then you realize, oh, I had just fallen asleep and it was just for 2 or 3 minutes. But in the dream, months had passed by, and and when you awaken, you know that was a dream. So you were in Maya. You were experiencing an illusion that seemed very true, real to you, because you believed that dream was real. And so that was an illusion. So the same way, this reality is an open-eyed dream where once we either before dying, ideally, because that is Sanatan Dharma, that is our duty to realize that I am not this body and mind, that this is all a cosmic play, a play of consciousness, of limited consciousness, and when I awaken from this, while I'm still in body, but when I am not in body and I leave the body, so-called die, then my spirit knows it all and says, oh no, that was just a dream. And all my 50, 60, 70, 80 years, that was just like flash of 10, 5 seconds. That was and I was so horrified and I took that to be reality. And so illusion is the fear-based reality because mind knows fear. Mind functions on fear. So fear, as somebody very knowledgeable has explained it as false evidence appearing real. So that's what illusion is. That's the Maya. And so all our masters, my guru, all the gurus you have mentioned, that is what their primary purpose is, to not keep making your dream better and better. How you can be beautiful in your dream, you can have a beautiful dream, but how you can know the eternal beauty of the truth and awaken to your true truth. And from once you know that, then it can truly become a You can play with this dream. You can play with this Maya. You can play with this illusion like we all do. We play video games. We go to watch 3D movies, horror 3D horror movies where this dinosaur is running. We put on 3D glasses and we want to be terrorized with this dinosaur plunging at you and feel that we are being eaten up. I mean, we do that consciously. We go into a theater to put on 3D glasses and be terrorized. So, but we remember that have you seen, most of the people have been to 3D theaters where you get to put on 3D glasses and there you are in
Yeah.
this, looks like you're in this airplane and this airplane's gonna fall into this bottomless pit and it's going down and down and everybody's screaming but then they come out and they are laughing and we pay money to be terrorized like that. But the thing is, we laugh and enjoy because we remember that it is an illusion. The thing with it is that we don't remember unless we have done tapasyas or sadhanas or spiritual practices to help us remember. And that's the role of the guru, to give you instruction how you can remember. And even if this lifetime you are not able to reach that point, all the effort you have put in will carry forward to help you in your next lifetime, to show you, to help you remember. Like I came in with so many memories that really helped me to go through the extremes of challenges that I went through or possibly could go through, but I have a whole different perspective to look at things and know everything is an illusion. It's just temporary. It's a game of my own choice. And we willingly come here. Nobody punished me. Nobody punishes anybody. And we stand in our own loving judgment. There is nobody being harsh, nobody yelling at you. It's just pure, pure, pure love. And in that, in the light of that pure love, you look at what is it that you wanted to experience and where you could have gotten off track or where you did, and then you decide to come back again to continue.
Yeah, thank you. You use the acronym for fear, and it's false evidence appearing real. But the swamis, the gurus, teach us to face everything and remember, or face everything and rise. Rise in what? Rise in our consciousness, by remembering our true essence. And I would love for you to maybe define the word swami. What does the word swami mean?
So Swami is someone who has mastered. So someone who's mastered his mind, because mind is what's in the way. And so it's the master. Hmm.
Yeah, thank you. I
Hmm.
appreciate that. And
So can I refer back to what you said to facing the fear? Go through it. And I would say exactly that. So it's not denying your physical reality or circumstances or things that are happening. In fact, that is exactly what helps us be stuck more in the fear mode, be stuck more in the illusion. So when we learn to notice, identify, recognize what is it that's bothering us, what is it that does not synchronize with your intuition, that is, if you suppress it, if you don't face it, then it can become a blocked emotion inside you. And the blocked emotions, mind always wants to create a story. So it gives label to it. It gives a meaning to it. It forms so you say something negative to me, and then based on my earlier programming also, I can immediately put it in a bucket, a category. I am not good enough. I am not worthy of being accepted by others. I cannot achieve anything good at any time. So immediately we form a thought around it and we categorize it. So a lot of times since this has happened, there's some carried over sanskaras, like past life tendencies. We have them stored inside our subconscious and unconscious. And then in our childhood, when we did not have enough knowing to notice these things, these messages that are coming from outside, sometimes intentionally and sometimes unintentionally by our caregivers, we form opinions, and then we've repeated it so often. It can be something that others have done or said to you multiple times, or it can be some shocking, traumatic one-time event. It doesn't matter, but you form a story around it. And that thought becomes an automatic process for you, and it becomes a belief about yourself. When it becomes automatic belief, it sits into your subconscious, and then even without you realizing, you are making your decisions, you are behaving, you're thinking, taking actions from those distorted beliefs, and they are coming from these distorted, unresolved, blocked emotions. So that is why the power and the wisdom behind them saying face your fears, meaning know what is it that is making you feel like a limited belief or a limited thought or a blocked emotion. So to face those, and unless you bring them up, unless you face them and walk through them, and there are different processes, different ways, so many different ways to walk through that. Uh, until then, it doesn't clear up. And that is once they are cleared up, then you already are the divine self, and that mirror start becoming clearer.
Yeah, thank you. Before we started recording, we were talking about diseases and illnesses, and I always say spirituality is not about just being a cheerleader for God. Spirituality is really about taking responsibility, the importance of taking responsibility for one's life, and to help create health versus illness. Because if I don't work, because life's hard, this experience is hard for many of us. And I know I've heard you
Yeah.
share about you had a hard upbringing yourself and trauma. If we don't learn how to deal with these painful experiences, they become trapped in us, and later in our adult life, they manifest as some form of disease. How important is it for us to work on ourselves, our inner selves, and transcend these emotions and heal from them if possible, so we don't manifest some form of disease later in our adult life?
You said how important. I mean, that is the most critical, highest importance, because that is what's in the way. It's almost like you want to look at yourself in the mirror and you're all decked up and you're looking beautiful and you want to look in the mirror, but the mirror is extremely dirty. It is full of stains, and there's ketchup and mustard, and I mean, count everything spilled on it, and some grease on it, and then layers and layers and layers of it on the mirror. So if you say, I cannot see myself, then it's not something wrong with you. It's not something wrong with the mirror itself. It's what's covering the mirror, the layers. So you clean that all that gook on the mirror, and then you can see yourself, and the mirror will reflect back mm, who you are, your beautiful self. So that is what we are supposed to do with our mind. The mind is not just thoughts. Mind is our beliefs, because thoughts we keep repeating become beliefs. Mind is our emotions, and then our body is this giant mind. Body and mind go together. So body thinks, our body remembers. If you, that is why we feel, if you had a trauma at a certain point and somebody was wearing, let's say, a mask of cologne at that time, then every time, even if it's a beautiful place and it's a devotional place that you're sitting on, somebody comes, sits next to you who's wearing that mask cologne, your body is going to have a reaction. It's going to, you're going to go into fight, flight, or freeze mode. Your body's going to release some stress hormones. It's going to react. So even though you know with your open eyes, I'm sitting in a beautiful devotional place, but your body remembers the trauma and the association with it. So that is how there are these thousands and millions of these energy meridians within our body through which our life force is flowing, that helps us give the energy to function, to think, to talk, and to experience this physical reality. That energy is coursing through our energy meridians, through our chakras. So chakras are the highways, the mix master, where all these meridians come and crisscross. And so those are, we call the seven main chakras in our body. And so when they say, are they open, they're functioning, not functioning, your chakras are open or not open, it is all related to the related meridians that are connecting all the, every part of your body, just like blood capillaries, blood vessels that are connecting every part of the body. So are energy meridians. And so these, we have energy bodies, we have emotional body, mental body. So there are so many layers of bodies, and that is what we are to clean up. Those, once they clean up, and those are, as we've talked about, the unresolved emotions, the traumas. Anytime you feel shattered inside or broken inside, or any of those life limiting where you're not feeling alive, there is something suppressed inside of you, in a thought form, in a belief form, in a suppressed emotion that needs to be cleared out. So the masters give us techniques of whichever technique the master has mastered, they will guide you accordingly through those techniques. They are all towards not just glorifying God in a manifest form, like in a murti or idol form, or the unmanifest form, not just glorifying, but also helping you unstuck those, that everything that's blocked in your cellular memory. So anything that gets settled in the body, that goes into your very cells, your cells memorize it. And at some point they start, the cell structure starts changing. If you're in constant stress, constant anger, constant resentment, constant grief, constant sadness, constant negative thinking, then there's cell mutation. Cells remember that. And that memory is then, it distorts the way the energy, this beautiful life force, divine energy that's coursing through our body, it starts getting distorted, starts stuck, just like in the kitchen sink, drain pipe, when there is things that should not go in the drain pipe, it can get stuck and it starts stinking. And so the same way, the cellular memory, if it keeps getting distorted and distorted, then it's the same thing that's giving life force, giving us this body, giving life force to our organs. And then that manifests as physical disease. So it takes a while. It takes our body is so forgiving and so programmed to come to a balance that it tries and tries and tries. But at some point, when what has been loaded inside it that's negative, it overpowers its own balancing capacity, and then it can take 15 to 20 years or 30 years before it will manifest. So it doesn't happen suddenly. And it can not only manifest as disease, but also external circumstances like some major accidents. So even then, because there was somewhere in within ourselves conflicting beliefs, somewhere where we needed that accident to wake us up, or to uh, another knock, another wake up call to change the trajectory. So any kind of pain, we are programmed for pain. Any kind of pain, mental, emotional, physical pain, is a knock it's like a doorbell, to say there is something that needs to shift within you, that it's out of alignment. And out of alignment of what? Out of alignment with your own divinity, with your divine self.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Mm.
And I know for the longest, I never thought about that. I was addicted to stress. I was addicted to suffering. And do you believe we live in a system that's kind of making more and more people stressed out and creating this within themselves? A lot of people, a lot of
Oh,
Americans today are on survival mode, and that's not healthy if we don't have a spiritual, especially if we don't have time for ourselves in a spiritual practice.
oh. Yeah, that brings me to the point. So many people will think if you give time to yourself, you're being selfish. And the best thing we can do for ourselves, for the planet, for the whole of humanity, for the cosmos, is give time to ourselves. And not like in a superficial way, not when we're saying, give time to, just, and if that mean, if taking a bubble bath gives you, or taking a trip to a store gives you a little bit of break from your stress, then that is fine. But what we are talking about, giving time to yourself, is what we talked about, cleaning and your mirror. So you have this beautiful divine mirror that's full of light inside you. And when I say you, I'm included in it because I am in my own journey. Every single day, I am practicing what my guru has guided me to do. And because it's divine is infinite, so there is no end of what you can find as you keep going on the journey. So when I am doing that, my guru has said, and I know I heard Yogananda say that too, or I read Yogananda say that too, that if you have not worked on yourself, if you not cleaned your mirror, but you have done humanitarian work for 30 years for other people, that will have less value than if you have spent those 30 years or even 10 years or 5 years focused on cleaning your mirror. I'm using analogy of the mirror because we mentioned it before. So if you have balancing yourself You are helping, even without you uttering a word, your energy, your aura, your energy is automatically helping everybody, helping the universe, helping the environment, helping the cosmos. So, and added to that, when you use your compassion, because you've developed compassion with that process by cleaning the mirror, then with that, when you serve the humanity, that has quantum more impact than in the when you didn't work on yourself and you just did the humanitarian work. So that is why it is critically important. And this is your own journey. You are unique. You are critically important to this cosmos. You would not have manifested on this planet in a physical human body if you were not critically important to what you can contribute to the cosmos. So your life is inexplainably important. And when you don't work on yourself, you are not only not serving yourself, but you're not serving the cosmos. And so it is important to work on yourself. There was a second part to what you were asking?
I don't remember, but what you just said right now it reminded me of Ramakrishna's quote, your own self-realization is your gift to the world.
Wow, beautiful. This is the first time I'm hearing that. Yes, your own self-realization. So yes, I wanted to add to that. You are unique. Your fingerprints are unique. Your DNA is unique. So you are a unique human being. So you are contributing to the universe in a very unique way. And only you can do that
Hmm.
because you come with a unique combination of other lifetimes, whether parallel lifetimes or other dimensions, whether it's your first lifetime or thousandth lifetime on planet Earth, or from other universes, wherever you're arrived from, you are unique. And so you bring those gifts to add to the cosmos. And once you have gone through your challenges, because each one has, even though the stories overlap, but each one has unique set of challenges, and we approach it in a unique way. When you have transmuted those and cleaned your mirror, you have like contributed that knowledge into this like cosmic library
Hmm.
where now the others can access it and to how to transmute all the challenges and the pain and the suffering. So yes, in a way, there is lot of suffering and and by the way, suffering is different from pain because we have known masters who had gone through incredible amount of pain. Ramakrishna, you mentioned, had throat cancer. He couldn't eat for days. So, but then he was always in bliss. And so pain is different from suffering in the sense pain, suffering is when you give meaning, you form an opinion about the pain. That becomes suffering. So it all then comes to the perspective from which I am looking at what's going on within me, what's going in internal and external. So external stress and external mishaps and these days the wars and everything that is happening is um, it's it's for each person to change themselves and shift themselves, but at the same time I also defer back to what a lot of NDEers have said and our masters have said about the yugas. It's a cyclical. So there is, when one cycle ends and the other cycle begins, it's like flipping a house. You get a house, you demolish it, you rip it apart, and then you create a whole new beautiful house because the previous one was too old, too malfunctioning. And so it is like that, maybe that stress has escalated. It has escalated a lot more in these days, but it was something that had been predicted. And it is when we see Lord Rama came, because you talked about avatars. So the Satya Yuga and the Treta Yuga and the Dwapar Yuga, when Lord Krishna came, they both came at the very end of when the time period, the cycle was going to shift into the new cycle. And so that is when the stress is at its total peak and kind of what we are experiencing. But then if that is not there, we need the external, we need others to show us the mirror. So I see it as the external people, circumstances, as a mirror to myself. Because in that contrast is, can I know where I am, where my mirror is, how stable I am, or how peaceful I am. And if the outside is very disturbed and yet I feel peaceful, or I can access, if not all the time, some of the time I can access that peace and the bliss, then I know that I am on the right track. So the external, there has never been a time. I mean, why did Jesus come if everything was beautiful and stress-free, right? All the masters have come in those times to just again keep saying that it's your primary duty is to your own self to shift. And as each person goes towards self-realization, they are uplifting the whole cosmos and changing the vibrations and the frequency.
Thank you. I'm going to ask you a few more questions, if that's okay.
Yeah, beautiful questions. I have never answered. Nobody's asked me these questions before. We didn't even talk about the SDE
Yeah,
yet.
I know. I was like, maybe we have to do a part two. Do a part two because I wanted to ask you about the dissolving into love and all that, but I don't know if we're gonna have enough time. So maybe that we'll do another one in the future.
I love it. Yeah, because there are others, many who listen to my podcast. They say, "Well, it's the same repetition. We want to hear more."
Yeah,
And then
yeah, yeah,
this
yeah,
will be the one where we talk about the actual spiritual wisdom.
yeah. You're right. So having these all these different experiences, how do you feel about extraterrestrials? Sometimes people will show religion like the Elohim in the Hebrew scriptures, or even in Hindu scriptures, or the ancient Kemetic or Egyptian writings, or the Anunnaki and the Sumerian writings. They identify with some of these beings or gods as extraterrestrials. What's your take on extraterrestrials?
Interesting. We did not get to talk about my one of my main STEs because that within that would have explained the answer for this most likely. But I would say what I would refer back to Sanatan Dharma, Advaita Vedanta, which is that the ultimate source is the formless, divine, unconditional, infinite love energy. And so within that, everything, the universes and the dimensions and the levels and astral planes and spirit worlds and the gods and the goddesses, they are all like within that cosmic dream of that formless energy, the manifested forms. So they are just different forms that are from different dimensions and different realities, different universes, you can say, and everything is connected. Everything is one energy. And as we know, energy never gets destroyed. It just changes its form. So, and everyone is hardwired, programmed, and you cannot unprogram it to help each other, facilitate each other, either seemingly in a supportive role or in a seemingly villain to actually push you to your own awakening, to your own self-realization. And so this is just a cosmic dream. And within that, how many dreams have you had where you were like, where did these creatures come from? So within that, it's just a cosmic dream and they are here to, we are never alone. We are being watched over by so many in from the spirit world and from other dimensions, and they all want to, number one, just like any country, we want to defend ourselves, and then we also, if we are a good helpful type of people, we want to help others, and at the same time we want to defend ourselves. So a lot of the ET conversations or sightings that happen, they are here either for self-defense because they see what is happening on the planet is going to cause them harm. So they want to come and fix or help or support some frequency raising uh, situation, or they want to, and they just want to help the earth to evolve more. So, but that's all a dream, a manifest dream, and however we want to play our imagination can has no bounds. So, and once you are in your power within this body, or when you have left your body, then your spirit has the power. They get to experience that whatever you think of, you can manifest. And so, like my guru, because he is a perfect yogi, he did tapasya, spiritual penance practices in caves for many years. He's a highest yogi. He had all the powers within him. So he could manifest anything just with his intention. He could be simultaneously all over the world while he's sitting in his ashram in Haridwar, India. And so simultaneously in different forms, he could be with you, talking to you and wearing a white robe. And in Haridwar ashram, he's sitting in a yellow robe, and then he could be in England, with somebody doing kirtan and bhajan, all that singing, and in a pink robe. You know, he. So we all have those capacities, but he developed them, and he came to tell us that we all have that capacity. So if he can literally manifest anything, any form, he could just appear, he's inside the room and outside the room as a lion. Literally, we have evidences, evidential testimonies of that. So he could take any form. So you can, with your intention, once you develop, tap into that power that is within us. So all the power of the cosmos is within us. And that is what the gurus are here to awaken. So you can play if your interest is ETs, you can play with that. If whatever dimension you want to tap into, so each one is unique that way, but they're just another manifestation.
So, in a brief answer, what's the purpose of reincarnation and what is God?
God, to me, experientially, when I say from my experience, is the unconditional, infinite, unconditional love energy. And it is pure love that's so pure, so overflowing that it cannot help. It is not in love. It does not contain love. Its very essence is love. And it's over when, over that love that's overflowing, it falls as drops, as love drops that manifests into all kinds of forms that we see, that we hear, that we know of. But the masters have said that God cannot be understood. God cannot be described. Anytime you say you have described God, you have not. Anytime you think you know God, you don't know. So it is because it is where the observer and the observed dissolve into one. So, like the eye sees everything, the eye cannot see itself. And so it's like that. God is that, this very active void, this very life giving void where the observer and the observed, the knower and the known, they dissolved. So it's this big nothingness, and I describe it, God, in that sense, as zero multiplied by infinity is zero. So when I say zero, it's not that, it's like that nothingness within which is the infinite. And so, and yet it remains, and no matter how much of the infinite you keep multiplying with or taking away, it's still complete. Very rich, very ecstatic, very blissful, the very life-giving nothingness, the wholeness, nothingness and wholeness. So zero, the nothingness, and the wholeness, the infinite wholeness. So it, but any time, no one has been able to describe God. Even masters, that's what they say. You cannot, because the knower and the known dissolve. So you can only experience yourself.
Yeah, it's kind of like that.
And
It's kind of like that elephant analogy that it's shared in India. I forget it totally. I haven't heard it in a long time, but Yogananda used to say it a lot about, if you're one person's by the leg, the other person's by the tail or the trunk. You've heard that.
right, right.
You probably
Yeah,
explain.
so five blind
Yeah,
people.
yeah,
Yeah, there's an elephant. Yes, very beautiful analogy. Five blind people are touching different parts of the elephant. They have never known. They've been blind since birth, and they have no idea what an elephant is. And they are told to describe the elephant. So, in different ways, he describes how each one will describe the elephant in a totally different way. And no matter how much they describe it, it'll be incomplete.
Mm.
So because they did not see it. When I say see it, they did not see it within their soul awareness. They did not see it with that. So you cannot know that and you cannot describe that. Until then, you are blind. So
Thank you. Thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it.
you're welcome. There was one other part you said, what is God and what is
Oh,
um,
the purpose of reincarnation.
yes, so it is from my STEs also. It's the play of consciousness, the it's God's dream, and we in our own divinity, we want to experience, and if we are ever expanding, our consciousness is ever expanding. It's very hard to hear this when we are in trauma, when we are in deep pain, that we really choose to reincarnate, but we are ever expanding. Our consciousness wants to expand, and so we want to experience, just like those blind people around the elephant, we want to experience the entirety of the elephant, and we want to gather knowledge from the others,
Mm.
what they have experienced. And so we share with our, we are, as I have heard many others use this language, as fractals of that one light. So we are all interconnected, and we want to go to more and more expansion. For the same reason we keep, if you are a baseball player, why you keep going to matches after matches after matches to play, because you want to know more of your capacity, know more of, um, face different challengers, different teams. You want to experience them. You don't want an easy game. As an observer, you don't want an easy game, and as a baseball player, you don't want a very easy game. You want a tough game. You want um, new tricks for uh, the one who's sending the ball to you. Have new tricks, and so you can challenge yourself. So we are constantly challenging ourselves, and we are extremely brave souls. Like I said, there is no time and space outside. It's only in human body we observe it as time and space. There is no time and space outside of this mind and body. It's our own construct. So everything is happening simultaneously, and we are learning, growing, and challenging. So we have had many other dimensions, other realities, and we are having them, and we are growing from it, and we are extremely brave souls, knowing Earth is an extremely challenging place. And so we are all extremely brave souls to come here, despite the fact we forget so much, to take on that challenge, have that adventure, to go back to, and the ecstasy, even 1 second of that glimpse of our own divinity, like washes away years and decades of pain. And imagine getting to a point where your consciousness, limited consciousness, is dissolved into your cosmic self. What ecstasy that is. And you cannot know that unless you've gone through some bumps and challenges. So that's the word silly, we are. And reincarnation, in what I have heard masters say, is that this planet, human life, is one of those rarest planets where you have the capacity. It's like the high risk stock, where you can be bankrupt in one day, or you can become a billionaire. One of those high risk stock companies. It's a gamble. It's infinite possibility, unlimited possibility. With our will, we use our will to come here and to expand, and we have the this is the plane where you have the capacity to jump all the layers, all the levels, and all the dimensions to become Par Brahma, to become one with Paramatma. In all the other layers, you can only go so far, or you can't move, or either that, or you can't move at all. That is why we yearn to come to play this game, because this is the only one. Now, there is a risk. My guru calls it shoots and ladder, like a snake and ladder game. So you can slip to the be in ego consciousness, die in ego consciousness. You can rise up to 99 and then slip down, or you can just completely bypass all the other levels and dimensions. And that is why when someone in human plane gets to complete self-realization, where your identity, limited identity, is dissolved into cosmic identity, then you are that enlightened master, and you are then called Par Brahma. Like in Sanskrit verse, you must have heard Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Gurur Sakshat Par Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurve Nama. So Sanatan Dharma and Vedanta has placed Guru, that enlightened master, above everything, above Paramatma itself, because that person had that capacity to transcend all the levels. And that's why we may not remember, but that's why we reincarnate, because we want to become Par Brahma.
Thank you.
We may forget. The more when we forget, we want to come back, and darn it, we lost track. And we hear NDErs, they go, and the spirit beings tell them, no, 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 you still have work to do. You volunteered. You said you were going to do this, this, this. We're not letting you go further. You got to go back. So like that. So sometimes we have reminders like that, but we reincarnate because we want to dissolve our identity into our own cosmic identity. And until we do that, we want to keep reincarnating, because we just know better when we are outside of this mind, and we go beyond, transcend our mind body.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate you coming on. I would love to have you on again, because there's so much more to talk about that we didn't get to.
Yes, many, many experiences. I would love to, and I just want to say I just not have had any conversation like this before on a podcast. I haven't had a conversation like this, so I'm absolutely thrilled.
Oh, wow.
And I would love to be back. Yes.
That's surprising, because you're on a lot of podcasts. So thank you.
Yes. I end up. I have been very fortunate to share a lot of my experiences, but the spiritual wisdom, um, to be able to share spiritual wisdom and the kind of questions you have asked, that is the first time where I have not even mentioned really my STE. This is unusual, and I'm so thankful for that.
No, thank you. And I'm going to end it with the Paramahansa Yogananda quote. And he said, being afraid of nothing, hating none, giving love to all, feeling his presence in everyone, and having but one desire for his constant presence in the temple of your consciousness. That is the way to live in this world. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you. What a blessing. Thank you to you and all your viewers.
And remember, within every yogi, there's a boo-boo. Take care. Just know we out here. Know we out here working in a major way. Had to speak on it just to make a play. Any given subject, know we make a way. Time to level up on a day-to-day. Know we out here working for the greater good. Expand your mind, broaden your lens the way you should. From the stars to the galaxy to speak on spirituality. Higher understanding for the neighborhood.